Have you ever woken up feeling like your day was already behind you? Like your mind was racing before your eyes even opened? Thoughts stacked on top of each other. Obligations. Notifications. Conversations replaying from yesterday. Expectations waiting at the edge of your bed. And you wonder, how can a day begin so fast, so full, and yet feel so empty? This is the silent chaos most people carry into their mornings. Not because the world is louder, but because their inner world has no room to breathe. When you begin your day in reaction, scrolling, rushing, multitasking, you do not own your time. You chase it. And your peace, your presence, your clarity, they all get left behind. But what if your morning could be different? What if the first hour of your day became a sanctuary, a space where you realign, reset, and return to yourself before the world demands a piece of you? This video is not about productivity hacks or rigid routines. It is about building quiet strength. 7 habits. Gentle. Practical. Rooted in timeless wisdom. Habits that do not demand much, but give you everything: calm, clarity, and control. If you stay with me to the end, you will walk away with a system that helps you ground your day in presence, not pressure. You will learn how to set the tone not just for your morning, but for your life. Because how you begin determines how you continue. And how you continue shapes who you become. The Stoics believed that mornings were sacred. Marcus Aurelius used the early hours to remind himself of what he could control and what he could not. He began each day with reflection, not reaction. His journal was not for public eyes. It was a conversation with his soul. A reminder to choose virtue over impulse, action over anxiety, clarity over chaos. And that is where we begin, before habit, before checklist, with one core idea: your mind becomes what it repeatedly consumes. If the first thing you do is open a screen, your thoughts are hijacked before they have time to find their center. That is why these 7 habits matter. They are not rules. They are rituals. Anchors to return you to yourself. So today, let us reclaim the first hour. Let us slow down what has become automatic. Let us make space not to get ahead, but to go inward. Because peace is not something you stumble upon. It is something you create with rhythm, with care, with intention. And if something in you has been craving that kind of stillness, trust it. You are not wrong for wanting to begin your day gently. You are not lazy for choosing silence over speed. You are wise enough to know that a calm mind is a powerful one. And that power begins not in the middle of the storm, but before the first cloud appears. If this message resonates, share it with someone whose mornings feel heavy. Sometimes all they need is one habit, one breath, one reason to begin differently. There is something sacred about the early morning. Before the noise, before the pressure, before the world asks anything of you. In that quiet space, your mind is soft, malleable, still unshaped by the opinions, stress, and distractions that will surely come. And yet how easily we give that space away. How quickly we fill it with noise, urgency, movement. Not because we have to, but because we are conditioned to. We have forgotten how to be still. Not physically still, but mentally still. We reach for our phones before we even speak to ourselves. Our thoughts are outsourced to headlines. Our attention fragmented before it has even had the chance to settle. And in doing so, we surrender one of the most powerful parts of the day, the first hour. Not because we are lazy, but because we never learned how to protect it. Discipline is not just about action. It is about attention. Where your attention goes, your mind follows. And if your attention is scattered first thing in the morning, your mind will be scattered too. That is why the first habit before any movement, before any effort, is silence. A moment. A pause. A breath. Not to do anything, but to remember that you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. Marcus Aurelius would rise before dawn, not to be productive, but to prepare his mind. To remind himself that people would be ungrateful, that events would be unpredictable, that the day would not go as planned. But more importantly, to remind himself that none of these things could touch his character unless he allowed them to. That inner fortress, that sovereignty, was built every morning. Not by chance, but by design. So the first habit is this: protect the first 5 minutes. Do not speak. Do not scroll. Do not respond. Just be. Sit upright. Place both feet on the floor. Breathe in through your nose. Feel your body. Let your mind catch up with your body. This may seem small, but it is radical in a world that demands immediate output. You are telling your system, I am in control. I begin with intention, not reaction. And once you anchor yourself in that pause, you are ready for the second habit: intentional movement. This does not mean a full workout. It means telling your body, I am awake. I am here. I care for you. Stretching. A short walk. A few yoga poses. Movement releases stored tension. It tells the nervous system that you are safe. Calm does not come from stillness alone, it comes from circulation. From breath meeting motion. There is an old Stoic phrase, mens sana in corpore sano, a sound mind in a sound body. Seneca reminded his students that philosophy was not a retreat from the body, but a training of it. That to govern the mind, one must also respect the vessel that holds it. So move. Not to burn calories, but to awaken your system with grace. From movement we transition to the third habit: clarity through writing. Not a journal of tasks or goals, but a release valve for the mind. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Write whatever comes. Thoughts, frustrations, ideas, memories. Get them out of your head and onto the page. This habit clears emotional fog. It reduces mental friction. And it helps you see what is truly occupying your inner space. Most people carry invisible clutter. Thoughts they never process. Feelings they never express. Over time, that emotional weight becomes mental noise. It makes calm feel impossible. But writing even aimlessly becomes a broom. A gentle clearing. And in that clearing, new space is born. Space for perspective. For gratitude. For decision. And that leads to habit number 4, a question. Just one. Simple. Powerful. What do I need most today? Not what is on my to-do list. Not what does the world expect. But what does my soul need? Is it stillness? Is it progress? Is it courage? This habit reconnects you to your center. Because calm does not mean inactivity, it means aligned activity. Doing what matters, not just what screams for attention. Once you answer that question, write it down. Carry it with you. Let it be your lens for the day. And you will notice when you move through life with clarity, your mind stops grasping. Stop spiraling. You are no longer reacting. You are responding. From a place of depth, not noise. Next, we reach the fifth habit: exposure to natural light. This is not spiritual, it is biological. Your circadian rhythm, your mood, your energy, all influenced by morning light. Step outside, even for 5 minutes. Let your skin feel the air. Let your eyes see the sky. This anchors your system in the rhythm of the real world, not the digital one. Nature regulates the nervous system in ways no app can replace. The sixth habit is often overlooked, but deeply powerful: a moment of gratitude. Not performative. Not forced. Just real. One thing. One person. One truth. Feel it. Say it out loud if you can. Gratitude turns the mind toward sufficiency. It says, I have what I need. I can begin from fullness, not lack. And that single shift from scarcity to enoughness can calm even the most anxious heart. Finally, we end with the seventh habit: intentional input. The first voice you let into your mind sets the tone. Make it intentional. A passage from a book. A poem. A few lines of Stoic philosophy. Something that reminds you of who you are and what you value. Epictetus taught that the mind is like clay. It will take the shape of whatever presses upon it. Choose what shapes you. These 7 habits, simple, gentle, profound, are not checkboxes. They are invitations. To live from the inside out. To begin with calm so that you do not spend your whole day chasing it. To remember that the quality of your mind is the foundation of everything you do. And if this message brought you closer to yourself, share it. Let someone else begin again. Not in chaos, but in calm. There is a kind of strength that does not announce itself. It does not rush into the day with urgency. It does not compete to be the loudest in the room. It begins in silence, in attention, in awareness. That strength is calm. And calm is not weakness. It is restraint, precision, discipline. It is the decision to meet the morning as a participant, not a prisoner. Most people enter their day as if they have already lost. They reach for their phones before they have even opened their eyes fully. They scroll through feeds before speaking to themselves. They absorb the stress of the world before grounding in their own center. And they wonder why their mind is noisy, scattered, overwhelmed. But what else could it be? You cannot begin your day in chaos and expect your mind to be clear. That is why these 7 habits are not just about feeling good. They're about building a psychological foundation. One that you can return to every day, no matter what life throws at you. These are not rituals of luxury, they are rituals of survival. Because in a world of constant distraction, stillness is an act of rebellion. Let us begin with habit 1. Protect the first 5 minutes and explore it deeper. This habit is not about avoiding technology. It is about creating space between sleep and stimulation. Most people underestimate the power of the transition. Waking up is not a switch, it is a process. And when you rush that process, you shock your nervous system. You teach your mind to be reactive before it has learned to be reflective. So, give yourself that margin. Sit up in bed. Feel your body. Breathe. Ask yourself silently, what kind of presence do I want to carry today? This question matters more than any alarm or to-do list. Because presence is not something you find. It is something you choose. In those first 5 minutes, you are not just preparing for the day. You are shaping who shows up to live it. Next, we deepen habit to intentional movement. You do not need a 60-minute workout. What you need is ritualized motion. It could be 5 sun salutations. I walk around your block. A minute of jumping jacks. Something that signals to your body I am here. I am alive. I am responsible for my state. This habit releases stagnant energy. It increases circulation. It resets your chemistry. Marcus Aurelius trained his body as part of his mental practice. Not because he sought vanity, but because he understood that a weak body limits the mind. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. Movement first thing in the morning removes that impediment." It tells your brain that effort is possible, even before your thoughts catch up. This is how you outpace resistance. Now, habit 3, clarity through writing. Let us be honest. Most people do not write because they think they need something profound to say. But that is the mistake. The mind becomes clearer through expression, not before it. You write to understand. You write to get underneath your noise. 5 minutes. Unfiltered. No grammar. No structure. Just honesty. This habit is like a mirror for your thoughts. You will be surprised what shows up. A fear you had not named. A decision you have been delaying. A truth you have been avoiding. And sometimes it will just be nonsense. That is fine. The goal is not a perfect page. The goal is an empty mind. A mind that has released what it no longer needs to hold. And in that space, you can make room for clarity. Habit for the question, "What do I need most today?" is about shifting from autopilot to awareness. Most people live by schedules they did not choose. Tasks assigned by others. Expectations inherited from culture, family, anxiety. But what about your needs? Not your impulses. Your needs. Maybe it is courage. Maybe it is slowness. Maybe it is discipline. This question helps you name it. And once named, it can be honored. Let your answer guide your choices. If you need calm, do less. If you need progress, focus harder. If you need truth, speak it. That single act of alignment can quiet a restless mind more than any meditation ever could. Then comes habit 5, exposure to natural light. It seems trivial, but it is foundational. Your biology responds to light. Morning light sets your internal clock. It regulates hormones. It impacts your sleep, mood, and energy. You do not need a beach, just sky. Even on cloudy days, the light matters. So step outside, even for a moment. Let your skin, your eyes, your breath remember the natural world. In that brief encounter, something shifts. You are not just a digital entity. You are a living organism. And your mind, though complex, is still part of that rhythm. When you begin your day with nature, even a glimpse, it changes your tone. You are not just surviving. You are listening. Habit 6, gratitude is not about writing a list. It is about feeling one thing fully. Most people rush gratitude. They treat it like a checkbox. But real gratitude is cellular. It slows you down. It opens you. It brings your mind into presence. One person. One breath. One reminder that you have more than you thought. That you are not starting from nothing. That there is already enough. And in that feeling, anxiety loosens its grip. The mind calms. Not because problems disappear, but because you remember you have strength, support, and perspective. Finally, habit 7: intentional input. Your mind is impressionable in the morning. What you consume becomes your lens. If the first thing you read is outrage, gossip, noise, your brain adopts that frequency. But if you begin with a line from Marcus Aurelius, or a quote from Epictetus, or a prayer, or a single line of truth, your day bends toward that energy. Choose your inputs with care. A paragraph. A poem. A reflection. Something that reminds you of what matters. Something that raises your mind instead of cluttering it. You do not need hours. You need intention. These 7 habits are not magic. They are not difficult. They are a return. I return to calm, to clarity, to presence, to the self you keep postponing. And tomorrow when you wake, do not try to do all 7 perfectly. Begin with 1. Just 1. Protect 5 minutes. Or write. Or walk. Let it be simple. Let it be yours. Then build from there. If this message centered your morning, let it center someone else. Pass it on. The world needs fewer anxious mornings and more intentional ones. There is a difference between being awake and being present. Many people rise with the sun but never fully arrive in their own lives. They move through the motions, coffee, shower, commute, but their minds are elsewhere. Scattered. Distracted. Already 10 steps into the future or 5 steps back into yesterday. Presence, on the other hand, is deliberate. It is a quiet return to this breath, this body, this moment. And these habits are not just about calming your mind, they are about teaching it how to return. Let us revisit the first habit, protecting the first 5 minutes through a different lens. Think of your mind like a freshly fallen field of snow. Untouched. Silent. Every thought you allow and makes a track. The first track matters. It determines the path your thoughts will follow. If the first track is reaction, a message, a headline, a worry, you have already surrendered the shape of your day. But if the first track is breath, stillness, presence, you set the tone. You decide the pace. Even 1 minute of stillness matters. Sit at the edge of your bed. Place your feet on the floor. Feel your breath. Let your thoughts come without chasing them. The mind does not calm because you force it to, it calms because you give it space to settle. Like sediment in a glass of water. Disturb it, and it clouds. Leave it still, and it clears. Now let us explore habit 2: intentional movement through a story. A Stoic general once trained his soldiers not just in battle, but in rhythm. He taught them to rise, stretch, and walk each morning before speaking. If your body is stiff, he said, your decisions will be too. He understood what modern science now confirms: movement changes your neuroplasticity. It increases clarity. It reduces anxiety. It returns you to your body where presence lives. You do not need complexity. You need consistency. 10 slow breaths while you stretch your arms above your head. A walk around the block without your phone. A moment on the floor, simply rolling your shoulders, twisting your spine, waking the spine that has held your sleep. These are not exercises. They are messages. To your nervous system. To your discipline. To your day. Habit 3: clarity through writing is perhaps the most misunderstood. People often say, "But I have nothing to say." That is precisely why you write. Writing is not performance. It is extraction. You are not writing for the world. You are writing to understand your own mind, to drain the mental noise before it shapes your behavior. Even a paragraph can change your clarity. Try this. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Write down everything your mind is saying unedited, uncensored, unfiltered. If your mind is blank, write "I don't know what to say" until something shows up. And something always does. Because your mind is not silent. It is just clogged. Writing clears the pipe. Next is habit 4: ask yourself what you need most today. It sounds simple, but it is revolutionary. Most people skip this question and go straight to the task list. But discipline is not just about what you do, it is about why you do it. When you ask what you truly need, you slow down enough to notice yourself. And noticing yourself is the first step to mastering your state. Do not overthink it. Your answer might be clarity, rest, momentum, or focus. Let it be simple. Then build your actions around that word. If you need focus, close your tabs. If you need momentum, take a small action immediately. If you need rest, remove what is not essential. This is not productivity advice. This is self-alignment. And when we talk about habit 5: morning light, we are speaking of something more primal than you might imagine. Your body was designed to rise with the sun, to feel the cool air, to sense warmth, to orient itself by what is real. Artificial light does not do this. Indoor light is not enough. Your biology needs the signal that says the day has begun. You can stack habits here. Step outside after stretching. Take your tea to the window. Walk barefoot on the balcony. Let the wind hit your face. This tiny act, often overlooked, has ripple effects on your alertness, your cortisol levels, your sleep that night. Nature is not just a setting. It is a stimulant, one that soothes instead of scatters. And now, habit 6: gratitude. Let us take this deeper. Gratitude is not positive thinking. It is accurate perception. The mind that does not practice gratitude defaults to lack. It becomes addicted to what is missing. It sees only what it has not done. Gratitude interrupts that cycle. It says, look again, even in hardship, even in routine, even in fatigue. You do not need to write 10 things. Just choose one and let it land. A warm mug in your hand. A soft bed you woke from. A single person who believes in you. Say it aloud. Let your body feel it. Let it soften you. Let it open your chest. And most importantly, let it be honest. Forced gratitude does nothing. But real gratitude, it recalibrates everything. Lastly, we return to habit 7: intentional input. The first voice you allow into your mind each day shapes your inner dialogue. If that voice is anxious, angry, chaotic, your own voice will mirror it. But if it is reflective, calm, rooted, you will carry that tone with you. This is why the Stoics read philosophy first thing. Not to memorize, but to remember. Try this: keep a small book by your bedside. One with timeless words. One line is enough. One sentence that lifts your gaze. That reminds you, you are not just a machine. You are a mind. And you must be nourished, not just fed. That nourishment becomes your armor. Not against the world, but against your own reactivity. And now, step back. Look at the habits not as tasks, but as a ceremony. A ritual of arrival. You are not just getting ready. You are returning to yourself. Morning is no longer a blur. It is a bridge. From sleep to intention. From survival to design. If this message helped you feel that bridge, share it with someone who wakes in a rush but longs for rhythm. You would be surprised how many people spend their mornings fighting invisible wars. Not with others, but with themselves. They wake up already resisting. Resisting the alarm. Resisting the routine. Resisting the reality of the day ahead. This resistance is subtle. It hides in the sigh, in the delay, in the background frustration that makes everything feel heavier than it really is. And then they ask why the day feels hard. But how could it not? When your first hour is spent in mental friction, you begin your day with a nervous system already under pressure. That is why calming your morning is not about finding peace later. It is about not losing it first. The 7 habits we have explored are not magic, they are prevention. Each one protects your mind from starting in chaos. And perhaps the most powerful gift of all, they return your sense of inner authorship. Because when you choose how your day begins, you stop letting the world decide how it unfolds. Let us go deeper into habit 1. Protect the first 5 minutes. This time, let us frame it like a doorway. You are standing in the threshold between 2 worlds, sleep and waking. What you carry through that door matters. If you bring anxiety, the next room fills with it. If you bring presence, the next room becomes quiet. So pause before you cross. 1 breath. 1 moment. You are entering the day. Let it be intentional. You might try placing your hand on your chest. Feel the weight of your own presence. Remind yourself, I am here. I begin with peace. This small gesture rewires your nervous system. It tells your biology that urgency is not needed yet. You are safe. You are steady. And safety is what allows your mind to relax. In habit 2, intentional movement, we can now explore the concept of activating the body as a grounding ritual. Many spiritual traditions, from Zen to Stoicism, honor the connection between body and virtue. A healthy body was not a vanity, it was a foundation for clear thought. Marcus Aurelius led armies, sat in judgment, wrote philosophy, yet he moved daily. Walks, stretching, horseback. He knew that stagnation creates mental fog. Movement clears it. Try 5 deep squats, or 5 yoga poses, or 5 minutes of walking in silence. It is not about calories. It is about clarity. You are not just warming up your muscles. You are anchoring your awareness. You are telling your mind, we move forward today, even if slowly. For habit 3, clarity through writing, let us now add structure. If free writing feels overwhelming, use 3 questions. What is on my mind right now? What do I want to feel today? What is one small thing I can do to move in that direction? These 3 prompts create direction without pressure. You are not trying to solve your life in 1 page. You are simply unloading the weight so you can carry your day with more lightness. And sometimes a single sentence from this practice will follow you all day like a whisper of your own truth. Now, choose a habit for asking yourself what you need most today. Here is a deeper lens. This habit is not just a question, it is a mirror. It reflects the part of you that often gets ignored. The part that speaks in fatigue, and distraction, and procrastination. When you ask, "What do I need most today?" you are giving that part a voice. And when that voice is heard, it no longer has to scream. You may be surprised by the answers. Sometimes it says, "I need to let go." Other times, "I need to begin." Either way, the power is in the naming. Because once you name it, you can honor it. And honoring your own needs is not indulgence, it is intelligent self-minus respect. The kind that prevents burnout before it begins. As for habit 5, exposure to natural light, let us reframe it as recalibrating your biology with the truth. Artificial light is convenient, but it confuses your system. Your body does not know what time it is until your eyes see real light. Even 2 minutes can shift your hormones, your cortisol, your melatonin, your alertness. Stand by a window. Step onto your balcony. Face east. Let your eyes adjust. No sunglasses. No phone. Just you and the sky. This habit is not poetic, it is physiological. And yet, in its simplicity, it becomes spiritual. Because you are beginning your day in reality. Not on a screen. Not in your head. But here. Present. Awake. Part of the rhythm. Let us now bring more depth to habit 6, gratitude. There is a form of gratitude that is passive. It says, "I'm thankful because I should be." But true gratitude is active. It sees what is present. And then it feels it. Fully. It lingers. Try this, close your eyes. Say one thing aloud. Let silence follow. Let the feeling rise. That is, gratitude is practice, not thought. It softens the chest. It slows the breath. It reminds your mind that not everything is missing. That even in the unfinished, the uncertain, the imperfect, there is enough. This is not delusion. It is balance. A counterweight to the always minus hungry part of your mind. And finally, in habit 7, intentional input, we step into the idea of feeding the mind before it hungers for noise. The mind, like the stomach, wakes up with needs. If you feed it garbage, it becomes agitated. If you starve it, it grasps. But if you feed it something nourishing, it settles. A passage from Epictetus. A psalm. A line from a poem. Something that says, you are more than your schedule. Read slowly. Not to finish, but to absorb. Let the words sink in. Let them coat your nervous system. These words are not entertainment. They are alignment. They remind you what kind of person you wish to be today. Calm. Steady. Clear. And when you put all 7 together, these are not separate tasks. They are a symphony. One flows into the next. A breath becomes a stretch. A stretch becomes a thought. A thought becomes a word. A word becomes a posture. And suddenly, you are not just ready for your day, you are ready for your life. If this reflection lit something in you, share it. Help someone else slow down. Breathe. Begin differently. There is a myth that calm is something you stumble upon. A gift of circumstance. A lucky break. A good night's sleep. An unusually quiet day. But anyone who has tried to build a steady mind knows otherwise. Calm is not given. It is cultivated. It is a result of conscious preparation. The outcome of repeated practice. It is not something you find. It is something you create. The morning is your canvas. And every habit, every breath, every choice you make before the world speaks, those are the brushstrokes. Whether you realize it or not, you are already painting. The question is, are you painting with intention or with default? Let us begin again this time, not from theory, but from story. A man once asked Epictetus, "How do I become unshakable?" This the student did not expect. He came for answers. He was given a mirror. Because discipline, the Stoics knew, is not just about effort. It is about identity. And that is what these 7 habits are ultimately building, not a checklist, but a self. A person you can trust. A person who does not panic when the world shifts. Who does not lose themselves in urgency. Who returns again and again to what matters. Let us move deeper into the function of each. Habit 1, protecting the first 5 minutes, is the daily declaration of ownership. You are saying, before I give myself to the world, I will return to myself. Even one full inhale before checking your phone breaks the trance. Even one slow sip of water before diving into notifications reminds your nervous system who is in charge. This is not about being perfect. It is about being conscious. You are no longer a leaf in the wind. You are the one steering the current. Habit 2, intentional movement, is where you give your body back its dignity. In stillness we restore. In motion we remind. Remind the body that it is capable. That it is cared for. That it is part of the team. Movement in the morning should feel less like a task, more like a reunion. With yourself. With gravity. With breath. It can be fluid. It can be playful. It can be serious. What matters is that it is chosen. Your body, when honored first, will support your mind throughout the day. Habit 3, clarity through writing, serves as a private counsel. You are not reporting. You are revealing. Your mind has layers. And most of your anxiety lives not in what is known, but in what is unspoken. Writing creates space between you and your noise. Space to see clearly. To name gently. To direct deliberately. If it helps, try this. Give your page a title each day. What I am holding today. What I fear today. What I need today. Then write freely beneath it. Like a faucet, once turned, it will flow. And on some days it may be the only place where your truth is fully seen. Habit for asking what you need is radical because it enters your humanity before your productivity. It says, I am not a machine. I am a person. With cycles. With emotions. With shifts. This question, when asked consistently, builds inner dialogue. It strengthens your intuition. It returns your agency. And more than that, it teaches you to pause. To ask instead of assume. That one moment of asking creates space between the impulse and the action. That space is where growth lies. Habit 5, exposure to natural light, is often dismissed as obvious. But what is obvious is not always practiced. We are creatures of sunlight. Our biology syncs to rhythms far older than our alarms. Morning light is your alignment with that greater rhythm. Step outside barefoot if you can. Face east. Even if you live in a city. Even if it is cloudy. There is something ancient about turning your body toward the rising sky. You are not just waking up, you are returning to the cadence of the earth. Habit 6: gratitude may sound overused, but only because it is rarely felt in its full depth. True gratitude is not a performance. It is a presence. To be grateful is to notice. Fully. Without narrative. Without judgment. Just this moment is enough. You can train this like a muscle. Every morning speak one phrase aloud. Today, I begin with thanks. Let that be the prelude to whatever else the day may bring. Gratitude does not eliminate difficulty. It simply expands your capacity to meet it with grace. Habit 7: intentional input is about becoming the gatekeeper of your consciousness. Every word, every image, every voice you allow and becomes a seed. The mind is fertile. It will grow whatever you plant. So begin your day with care. Feed it what you wish to embody. This might mean one page of a sacred text. One line of Stoic wisdom. A reminder written on a post-it by your bedside. Whatever it is, let it be nourishing. Let it be slow. Let it echo. And now let us ask what happens when you string these habits together. You create a morning that is not rushed but rooted. Not filled but focused. Not reactive but rhythmic. You begin to move through life with a different center. Not perfect, but practiced. Not loud, but grounded. People will notice. They will ask what you changed. And you will smile because it was never about adding more. It was about remembering what matters. If this voice realigned your morning, offer it to someone else. One message can reset 1,000 mornings. By this point, something in you may have already shifted. Perhaps your mornings have begun to feel less frantic. Perhaps you have caught yourself reaching for presents instead of a screen. Perhaps you have started to see your first hour not as a race, but as a rhythm. And if so, do not rush past that awareness. That is progress, not the kind the world celebrates, but the kind your soul recognizes. The truth is, most people never pause long enough to see the damage their mornings are doing. Not dramatic damage. Subtle. But consistent. They wake and immediately hand their attention to the loudest thing. And in doing so, they enter the day on someone else's terms. The mind unguarded becomes a sponge. And every anxious post, every headline, every comparison it soaks in. You do not need to live this way. And you do not need to become someone else to change. You only need to return to your own terms. That is what each of these 7 habits or small revolutions. Not loud, not flashy, but persistent acts of self-minus respect. Let us go further into the psychology of habit 1, protecting the first 5 minutes. Your mind is most impressionable in the first few moments after waking. Brainwave activity is still in a theta state, open, receptive, forming patterns. This is not spiritual speculation. It is neurological fact. If the first thing you do is reach for conflict or stimulation, you are priming your system for stress. But if the first thing you do is pause, breathe, observe, you are anchoring yourself in clarity before chaos has a chance to enter. Think of it as setting the tone for a symphony. Once the first note is chosen, the rest begins to fall into harmony. But if the first note is jarring, dissonance follows. For habit to intentional movement, we can now explore the role of posture. Not just movement, but how you hold yourself. The body sends signals to the mind constantly. Slumped shoulders, shallow breath, these are not just results of how you feel. They become reinforcers. They tell your brain something is wrong. We are not safe. When you begin the morning by moving with strength, even gently, you will tell your body we are ready. We are grounded. We are capable. A simple standing stretch, done with attention, can do more for your emotional state than a cup of coffee ever could. You are not trying to perform. You are returning to alignment. In Habit 3, Clarity through Writing, consider the impact of naming emotions. Neuroscience shows that when we name a feeling, we tame it. The act of writing "I feel anxious" or "I feel unsure" activates the prefrontal cortex and decreases activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for emotional reactivity. So do not wait for clarity to come to you. Write your way into it. Your pen is not reporting. It is revealing. And in that revelation, there is release. You do not need to solve the entire emotion. You only need to see it. What we see clearly, we can move through calmly. Now for habit for asking what you need most. Today we step into the world of alignment versus achievement. Most mornings are driven by a hidden question: how much can I get done today? But a better question might be: what kind of person do I want to be while I do it? This changes everything. When you align your day with your values, not just your tasks, something subtle happens. Your mind stops fighting itself. You stop betraying your deeper needs for surface-level accomplishments. The calm you feel is not from doing less, it is from living more truthfully. With Habit 5, Exposure to Natural Light, there is now an emotional metaphor worth noting. Stepping into sunlight is not just biological. It is symbolic. It is saying, I begin again. I step forward. You are no longer in the shadows of sleep. You are stepping into clarity. Make this moment intentional. Eye ritual. Face the sun. Open your palms. Feel the air. Let this be a moment of renewal, not just for your biology, but for your spirit. Habit 6, Gratitude, is perhaps the most transformative, because it does not require anything external to change. You do not need a better job, a better body, a quieter home. Gratitude asks only this: can I notice what is already here? Anxiety loses its grip, because fear and gratitude cannot exist in the same breath. Try a gratitude practice that uses the body. As you breathe in, say silently, I receive. As you breathe out, say thank you. Let the breath carry the intention. Let the moment be enough. You are not reaching for a list. You are letting the heart speak. Lastly, in Habit 7, Intentional Input, let us explore digital discipline. Most people underestimate how sensitive the mind is to tone. The first voice you hear, the cadence, the energy, the message, it sets your subconscious tone for the day. A sarcastic meme. A sharp headline. A demanding email. These do not just inform you. They shape you. But you can choose otherwise. You can choose silence. You can choose truth. You can choose poetry. You can choose a single sentence that reminds you, I am not my schedule. I am my spirit, and in that spirit calm grows. Not by chance, but by deliberate cultivation. As you reflect on these habits, you may begin to realize something profound. You were never lacking. You were simply distracted. Your peace was never gone. It was just buried. Beneath noise. Beneath urgency. Beneath habits that were inherited, not chosen. And now you are choosing. Gently. Repeatedly. Quietly. You are rebuilding the bridge between how you live and who you are. And that bridge is what changes everything. If this message steadied something in you, offer it forward. Your morning calm might just ripple into someone else's life and give them the strength to begin again. Some mornings, it all feels heavier. Not because the tasks have multiplied, but because your mind is already carrying things it has not named. The conversation you avoided. The worry about the week ahead. The quiet fatigue that crept in while you were busy performing strength. These weights are not visible, but they are felt in your breath, your posture, your energy. And if you are not careful, you will call it just another day, when in fact, it is your soul asking for attention. That is why these habits matter. Not because they make you more efficient, but because they make you more honest. When you begin your day with presence, you are not pretending everything is okay. You are simply giving yourself the space to meet the truth gently, without judgment, without panic. That is what creates real calm. Not denial, but preparation. Not perfection, but presence. Let us move deeper into the first habit, protecting the first 5 minutes. By now, you may have started this. You may be practicing. And you may have noticed it is harder than it looks. To sit. To not reach. To not respond. And that resistance is revealing. It shows how addicted we have become to stimulation. To input. To noise. But that resistance is also the doorway. Every time you sit through it, something changes. A space opens. Your thoughts settle. Your breath deepens. And in that space, calm is not something you find, it is something you remember. It was always there, waiting behind the noise. In habit to intentional movement, we now begin to see the connection between physical rhythm and emotional regulation. The body, when moved intentionally, speaks a language the mind understands. When you stretch, you are saying, I choose to soften. When you walk, you are saying, I choose to move forward. When you stand tall, you are saying, I choose to carry myself with care. Movement in the morning is not about reaching a goal. It is about restoring integrity between your body and your day. When you begin in slowness, you are more likely to move through the day without rushing. When you begin in strength, you are more likely to meet the day with steadiness. Habit 3, writing for clarity, has a hidden benefit. It becomes a conversation with your future self. What you write today may be the very insight you need tomorrow. You are not just clearing the noise. You are leaving yourself a trail. A thread of self-minus understanding that weaves through your week, your work, your emotions. Try this at the end of your writing. Close with one sentence that begins with today. I choose, let the rest come naturally. Today I choose presence. Today I choose calm over control. Today I choose to begin. This small act of closure turns your writing into direction. In habit for asking what you need most today, you may begin to sense patterns. Perhaps you keep needing rest, or courage, or clarity. That is not a flaw. That is information. Your needs are not signs of weakness. They are signs of life. And the more you honor them, the more capable you become of showing up for others. Ask the question, and then go further. Ask, what would it look like to give myself that, even just a little? If the answer is clarity, maybe it is turning off distractions. If the answer is rest, maybe it is permission to do less, but do it well. The act of answering teaches your nervous system that you are listening and that awareness alone softens tension. Habit 5: exposure to light is starting to become a moment of connection. Not just with the sun, but with time itself. When you face the morning light, you are acknowledging this day will not return. This sunrise will not repeat. And in that awareness, your pace changes. You no longer rush past the morning, you move with it. Even 5 minutes outside, even through a window, even just standing at your front door can be enough. What matters is not the duration. What matters is the devotion. The act of showing up for this exact day instead of missing it entirely. Let us explore habit 6: gratitude through the lens of language. There is a difference between I am grateful and thank you. The first is a concept. The second is an offering. Try saying it aloud without naming anything. Thank you. Say it again. Let it land in your body. Let it echo. This is not for anyone else. This is not performance. This is a tuning fork for your nervous system. Some days, the gratitude will be specific: a hand to hold, a quiet house, a warm meal. Other days it will be general: I am alive. I am learning. I am still here. Both are valid. Both are sacred. The key is feeling it, not checking a box, but opening a door. And now we return to habit 7: intentional input is the final gesture before entering the world. Think of this like the final words before a ship leaves the dock. What do you want echoing in your mind as you meet the day? Choose wisely. Your first input is not just information, it is orientation. You might keep a few favorite lines on your nightstand, or set your phone's home screen to a quote that roots you. Or begin with 1 minute of still listening, no words, no thoughts, just breath. What matters is that you begin by choosing your signal before the noise chooses you. Taken together, these habits are not about control. They are about clarity. You are not managing your morning to feel superior. You are shaping your morning to feel steady. And from that steadiness, you begin to move differently in the world. You speak slower. You listen deeper. You respond with more grace. You forget less of who you are. And that above all else is the point. Not to master the morning, but to stop losing yourself in it. If this message helped you hold on to that sense of self a little longer, share it. Someone else is waking up tomorrow, looking for peace they think they do not have, when all they need is a way to return to it. At some point in your journey, you will be tempted to abandon these habits. Not because they stopped working, but because they started working. And when something begins to work, it reveals things. Your patterns. Your resistance. Your old ways of coping. Suddenly, you are face to minus face with what you used to avoid. Silence uncovers restlessness. Stillness reveals grief. Presence exposes where you have been living in absence. That is why most people do not quit because the habits are hard. They quit because the clarity is confronting. But do not mistake that confrontation for failure. That is growth. And growth, at its core, is a series of small betrayals of who you used to be. Each habit is helping you build a new relationship, not just with the morning, but with your mind, with your past, with your nervous system, with the voice inside you that says, stay in bed. You can skip today. It does not really matter. That voice does not disappear. But with discipline, it loses authority. Let us revisit habit 1, protecting the first 5 minutes through the lens of sovereignty. Those few minutes are your sovereign space. Untouched, unsporsome, uninterrupted. A pocket of time where you answer to no one, not to your inbox, not to the market, not even to your own impulses. Use it. You breathe. You reclaim. You might choose a physical anchor, a small stone, a phrase, a gesture. Something that signals to your system we begin now. Not with noise. With noticing. Even placing your hand over your heart and saying, "I am here," is a ritual powerful enough to shift your baseline. In habit 2, intentional movement, we begin to understand that movement is not always forward. Some mornings, progress is measured in stillness. A gentle stretch instead of a sprint. I walk instead of a run. On those days, movement is about kindness, not conquest. Ask your body, how do you want to be moved? Then listen. Not to punish. To participate. Movement becomes a meeting between you and the vehicle that carries your will through the world. Habit 3, writing, has, by now, likely become more than a brain dump. It is becoming a bridge. Between confusion and clarity. Between emotion and expression. Between reaction and reflection. On the days when you feel scattered, write, not for grammar, not for answers, just for space. Try this practice. Write 1 line for each of the following: I release, I welcome, I remember, and I choose. These lines do not need to be poetic. They only need to be true. That is how writing becomes a ritual of return. For habit 4, asking what you need most, there is a next layer. You begin to anticipate the answer. You begin to feel, even before asking, what the day is calling from you. This means you are becoming more attuned, more emotionally literate, more aware of your own seasons. Some mornings you will need courage, others, softness. Some mornings you will need to say less, others, to speak what you have long buried. That question, what do I need most, becomes less about the answer and more about the act of asking. The moment you ask, you've already begun to align. With habit 5, exposure to light, let it now become a metaphor for inner illumination. Step outside not just to see the sun, but to remember what it means to rise. Each sunrise is a reset. Nature does not hold grudges. The sky does not dwell on yesterday. It simply begins again. And you can too. You might add a phrase as you step into the light: I rise with the day. Or, I begin anew. These small additions give shape to what might otherwise be missed. They help you mark the moment not as routine, but as ritual. Habit 6, gratitude, may begin to feel less like a practice and more like a posture. You find yourself saying thank you before complaint can enter. You catch yourself noticing things others rush past. Gratitude makes your eyes softer, your presence deeper, your breath fuller. Try pairing gratitude with your senses. What do you see right now that is beautiful? What do you hear that reminds you of life? What do you feel on your skin that brings comfort? These questions anchor your gratitude in the body, not just the brain. And that grounding is what gives it staying power. And now in habit 7, intentional input, you become a curator of consciousness. No longer a passive consumer, but an editor, a designer. You choose your first thoughts the way a gardener chooses seeds. Not every voice deserves access. Not every idea deserves influence. You might even record your own message. A 30-second voice memo. Spoken by you for you. Played each morning. A reminder of who you are becoming, and what matters most. That voice, familiar, steady, true, may be the most powerful input of all. When these 7 habits move from effort to identity, something subtle happens. You no longer need to force them. You feel off when they are missing. Not because you are addicted, but because you have become accustomed to the version of yourself that these habits make possible. That version is calmer, clearer, less reactive, more present. They still feel, still fall, still forget, but they return faster. They recover with grace. They begin again without drama, without delay. And if this message helped you remember that version of yourself, send it forward. Let it travel. Let someone else know they are allowed to begin again. Quietly. Gently. Today. There is something deeply dignified about beginning the day with intention. It says, without words, I matter. My presence matters. The way I begin matters. Most people never hear that message from the world. So they must become the ones who speak it to themselves. That is what a morning practice is, not a performance for the day, but a preparation for living in it fully. With steadiness. With sovereignty. With space. And space is where the mind breathes. You will start to notice this the longer you stay with these habits. Your thoughts become less crowded. Your body becomes less reactive. Your day begins to expand, not because time changed, but because your inner pace did. That is what calm truly is. Not the absence of stress, but the presence of space between you and your reaction to it. So let us return to habit 1, protecting the first 5 minutes, and notice something essential. This habit is not about restriction. It is about reverence. Those minutes are sacred because they are yours. Unclaimed. Unshaped. Unrushed. And by defending that small window of time, you are practicing something much bigger. You are choosing not to be ruled by urgency. Try this before you do anything else. Step out of your bed and place both feet firmly on the floor. Sit. Breathe. Say, out loud or silently, this is my day. And I will meet it calmly. These are not just words. They are instructions to your nervous system. And your nervous system listens best when you move slowly. Habit to intentional movement is becoming more than a warm up. It is becoming a signal. The way you move first thing in the morning communicates how you intend to live that day. If you begin with strain, you may carry tension forward. But if you begin with care, with lengthening, breathing, stretching, you send a different signal. I will move with awareness. I will carry myself instead of collapse into the pressure. You do not need a perfect sequence. You only need to feel yourself arrive in your body. Roll your shoulders. Circle your wrists. Breathe into your spine. You are not performing. You are participating. In habit 3, writing for clarity, you may find that the words begin to speak back to you. As you pour thoughts onto the page, a voice may emerge. Wiser. Calmer. A voice that is not caught in emotion, but speaking through it. That voice is you. The deeper you. Let writing be the place where you reintroduce yourself to that version. The one who knows what matters. Who knows how to return. Who sees clearly even when life feels fogged. Try closing your journaling with one sentence even now. I choose presence. Write it. Read it back. Let it echo. Habit for asking what you need most today has begun to reshape how you approach decision-making. You begin to realize that not every task is urgent. Not every request is aligned. And this awareness is what creates boundaries, not harsh walls, but soft edges. You begin to say yes with more joy and no with less guilt. This question, what do I need today, starts becoming instinctual. A gentle pause before reacting, before committing, before rushing. And the more you practice this, the more you live your life on purpose, not on autopilot. With Habit 5, exposure to natural light, we can now treat it as a ritual of visibility. When you walk into the light, you are letting yourself be seen. Not just by the sky, but by your own consciousness. You are no longer hiding in the shadow of distraction. You are waking with the world, not against it. Even a single breath in sunlight can act as a compass. A reminder. This is the day. This is my beginning. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply returning. And now Habit 6, gratitude, becomes less of an action and more of an atmosphere. It lingers. It colors things. You begin to notice small blessings without having to list them. A warm drink. A kind glance. The smell of the morning air. Gratitude begins to shape the quality of your attention. You no longer chase more, you find beauty in enough. You might try micro gratitude, a 10-second pause to say thank you for the smallest of things. That pause rewires your attention from grasping to appreciating. And appreciation calms the mind faster than any external solution. Habit 7, intentional input, now becomes a kind of inner hygiene. Just like you brush your teeth each morning, you now brush your mind. Clear it. Clean it. Remind it. Before anything else, you choose what gets to shape your thoughts. Try this. Open a book to a random page. Read one sentence. Sit with it for 60 seconds. Let it be the first influence of your day. Or speak a mantra. Or listen to one song that grounds you. You are feeding your inner atmosphere before the world adds its noise. These habits are no longer habits. They are signals. Each one speaks to your system. You are safe. You are present. You are in rhythm, and that rhythm travels with you. Into your work. Into your relationships. Into your choices. Others may not see the habits, but they will feel their echo in the steadiness of your presence, the softness of your gaze, the calm in your voice. You have not become perfect. You have become practiced. And in that practice, you are building something sacred, a self you can trust. If this message brought you closer to that version of yourself, share it. The world is hungry for calm, and you never know whose day it might change. There is a quiet moment in every transformation where nothing looks different on the outside, but everything feels different on the inside. You wake up the same. You walk through the same house. Drink from the same mug. But there is a subtle steadiness to your movements. A slowness in your breath. A clarity in your gaze. You are no longer running from your day. You are moving toward it. Not with urgency, but with readiness. That is the invisible shift that morning discipline creates. It does not make life easier. It makes you stronger, calmer, more anchored. And that kind of strength does not need to prove itself. It simply is. Let us revisit habit 1, protecting the first 5 minutes from a different angle now as a daily vow. Recommitment. You are not doing this because you are trying to become someone better. You are doing this because you remember who you are when the noise fades. These minutes are a vow to that version of you, the one that speaks slowly, moves intentionally, and sees clearly. Even just sitting on the edge of your bed with your palms resting open can become a ritual. A way of saying, I do not belong to the noise. I begin with stillness. No one will see this. No one needs to. But you will feel it. And that is what matters. Habit 2, intentional movement, is now a way of respecting your own elements. You are not exercising to fix yourself. You are moving because it is how you remember that you are here. That your body still works. That your lungs still fill. That your feet still walk you forward. Some mornings that movement will be slow, gentle. Others it will be full of strength and fire. Let it vary. Let it reflect your state. Let it teach you that there is no single way to be in your body. There is only presence. And presence in motion becomes peace. With habit 3, writing for clarity, you are starting to become your own witness. No longer a judge. No longer an editor. Just someone who listens. Use it. You write. And in doing so, you create a space where no mask is needed. You do not need to be wise. You do not need to be productive. You just need to be honest. Over time, your journal stops being a place for fixing and becomes a place for befriending. You begin to recognize patterns, stories, fears, dreams. And you stop trying to fight your thoughts. You simply hold them like a teacher observing a student. Not to correct, but to understand. Habit for asking what you need most today is now part of your rhythm. A conversation you return to. You do not always need new answers. Sometimes the same answer shows up for weeks. And that is okay. Because you are not looking for novelty. You are looking for truth. Some days you will hear, I need to forgive. Some days I need to focus. Others I need to rest. Whatever it is, when you listen without judgment, something magical happens. Your actions begin to support your needs instead of suppress them. And that congruence creates peace. In habit 5, exposure to natural light, you might now begin to treat the sky as a mirror. You step into the light not just to wake up your body, but to remember your place in something bigger. The sky holds your worries without reacting. The air moves through your lungs without asking questions. There is a wisdom in nature that does not speak, it simply exists. Let this be your model. Not everything needs to be solved. Some things only need to be seen. Step into the light. Feel the sun or the breeze or the cold. Let it remind you life is still happening. And you are still part of it. Now, habit 6, gratitude, has softened from a practice into a posture. You carry it even when the day is hard. You do not force it. You return to it. A quiet thank you as you sip your drink. As you watch someone you love. As you notice the ordinary miracles that used to pass unnoticed. You are no longer waiting for big wins to feel grateful. You are learning to see the win and simply waking up. In showing up. In choosing again. And finally, habit 7, intentional input, has become less about consumption and more about curation. You now understand the first voice you hear is not just a sound, it is a seed. You choose words that ground you. Music that centers you. Silence that resets you. You no longer scroll to feel alive, you connect to feel aligned. You are becoming less reactive to the world because you are more rooted in your inner world. And this is how calm becomes natural, not forced, but familiar. All of these habits, when repeated long enough, build something sacred, a sense of self that is not swayed by circumstance. A steadiness that holds you, even when the day does not go your way. You will still face difficulty, still feel doubt, but you will meet it with a different kind of posture. One that says, I have prepared for this. I am not new to discomfort. I have met myself in the morning. And in that meeting you will remember calm is not the absence of effort. It is the presence of self. If these words helped you come back to yourself, let them help someone else. Share the calm. Share the rhythm. Share the reminder. If you have made it this far, you are no longer just thinking about changing your mornings, you are living differently. Quietly. Consistently. You are no longer chasing peace. You are practicing it. And practice is where real change happens, not in the books you read, not in the ideas you admire, but in what you return to over and over when no one is watching. These 7 habits are not about performance. They are not a productivity formula. They are a way of coming home. To your breath. To your body. To the quiet voice underneath all the noise. And that voice? It does not shout. It does not demand. It whispers. It says, this is the way. Each morning you now carry a choice. Not just to wake up, but to arrive. To meet your life from within, not from behind. To move slower, not because you have less to do, but because you have remembered what matters. Slowness is not the enemy of achievement. It is the birthplace of clarity. And clarity is the beginning of calm. Let us step back once more and look at these habits for what they truly are. Habit 1: protecting the first 5 minutes is your declaration of sovereignty. Before the world enters, you claim your ground. It is not about length. It is about intent. This is your mind's clean slate. Treat it like something sacred. Because it is. Habit 2: intentional movement reminds you that the body is not a machine to command, but a partner to listen to. Every stretch is a dialogue. Every breath is a bridge. You are not forcing your body to serve your schedule. You are inviting it to participate in your peace. Habit 3: writing for clarity becomes your anchor. In a world full of unspoken thoughts, you are choosing to face yours. Not to fix them, but to understand them. The pen becomes your compass. It points not north, but inward. Habit 4: asking what you need most shifts your morning from automatic to aligned. It reminds you that you are not here to please every demand. You are here to live with depth. That question is your permission slip to slow down, to refocus, to reclaim your day before it begins. Habit 5: exposure to natural light grounds you in the rhythm of life itself. No screen, no alarm, no update can replace what 5 minutes of light does to your system. It is not just a boost of energy. It is a quiet reminder you are part of something bigger. Habit 6: gratitude changes the texture of your thoughts. You stop seeing your life as lacking. You start seeing it as layered. Even when things are hard. Even when you do not have what you want. There is always something present to be present for. Habit 7: intentional input makes you the curator of your consciousness. You are no longer passively absorbing. You are actively shaping. because the first voice you hear sets the tone for the rest. Let that voice be one that brings you back to truth, not away from it. And now that you know them not as concepts, but as companions, you understand calm is not an accident. It is not reserved for the few. It is built quietly, repeatedly, intentionally. You may miss a day. You may fall into old rhythms. That is not failure. That is life. The practice is not about perfection. It is about return. Return to the breath, to the body, to the question, to the light, to the quiet, to the word. Return to you. And the more you return, the easier it becomes to stay. Not just in the morning, but throughout the day. When stress hits, when plans fall apart, when nothing goes the way you hoped, you do not panic. You pause. Because you have practiced. Because you have prepared. There is a line from Seneca that says, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." These morning rituals teach you how to catch that imagination before it runs wild. How to notice the storm before it begins. And how to breathe through it rather than be swept away. What you are building is more than a morning routine. It is an inner architecture. A structure strong enough to hold you when life is uncertain. A center so grounded that you carry calm not just for yourself but for others. People will feel it. In your presence. In your patience. In the way you listen. In the way you respond instead of react. You will become a lighthouse, not loud, not pushy but steady. A quiet guide in a world of noise. And the most beautiful part? This is not the end. This is the rhythm you now carry forward. You know the way. You have walked it. And tomorrow morning, you will walk it again. Not out of obligation, but out of devotion. Devotion to clarity, to wholeness, to peace. So rise gently. Begin slowly. Choose your rhythm. And if you forget, forgive yourself quickly. Calm begins again with the next breath. If this journey returns something sacred to you, pass it on. Someone out there is searching for peace, and your voice might be the one that helps them find their own.